then you lost. You lost the struggle.
But according to what you're saying, then can I extend that in saying that you lost, because there are exceptions right now?
There are exceptions. Very few exceptions, and we had to stop it. I give you another example.
So this is Sabyasachi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
He was the devotee I mentioned in India, who's
Yes.
leading, and this is Sankirtan Prabhu from Brno, Czech Republic.
We met in 2016.
Yes, I believe.
Here's some other setup.
Wow.
Czech temple path.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So then there is this other example. We have a really good Food for Life program. There was a time, like 20 years ago, we received a lot of boga. A lot. In Budapest and also here. We received a lot of boga. So if you have a lot of boga for free, how does that affect your farm?
You don't need to grow anything.
You don't need to grow anything. So then, why should the devotees go and struggle in 38 degrees under the sun? Many hours a day, in the morning and in the evening, when the sun is not up so much, and do or struggle growing something that might not even grow well because the weather is unpredictable. So, and it's coming for free. You know, when I was in Page, we were the first to eat watermelon because the huge Tesco's and others, they just had tons of that they were just throwing away. And because we were there and we had Food for Life program, we just got a lot of things. We went and we distributed it. And then we went back and we discussed it with Tesco's that sorry, it's just you give so much that we cannot distribute. It's just too much. Can we just bottle things and just save it for later and maybe we also use it? This, yeah, it's much cheaper for us that you take it away than us having to have it destroyed. So that was in Page, that was in the other temple. The same thing here in Krishna Valley. It's flooded by vegetables and fruits for free. So we had to make a decision. None of the boga that we get as a donation should be used in Krishna Valley for the devotees. Just to keep the garden alive. Because otherwise we just don't need the garden. So it will always be a struggle because these external influences, and the more you will get known, the more you will get. And try to convince a community to work on the land when you can get everything for free. Why is it better for you? Because Prabhupada said so. Okay, Prabhupada said so. But just imagine, I would be able to chant 64 rounds a day, do full-time bhajan in the temple room, read the Bhagavatam. That's what we would need to do. We're Brahmins after all, isn't it? And then there can always be the differences in between the different devotees' spiritual needs. Some devotees, it's just 4 regulative principles, chanting 60 rounds, reading Prabhupada Prabhupada's books. Sometimes that's enough. For some devotees, chanting 32 rounds, reading 4 hours a day, studying the scripture, still they will feel that spiritually I'm not fulfilled. I would need more. So how do you handle those differences in a community? You can start a 24/7 bhajan group. Who will maintain them? Where will the money come? Where will the economy be based on to maintain that? Can you make the community so strong socially and bonding that the devotees who are working on the field, they would not feel that they are not appreciated as much as those who are just studying the scripture 8 hours a day? How will they respect each other? So that's also a challenge. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I mean, there's no straightforward question to how you prevent exceptions from becoming the rule. But some exceptions will break the community.
Yeah.
Some exceptions can be handled. I guess there's no straightforward answer apart from that. We've had many conversations so far. I mean, some questions. We went over the ones that we were specifically interested in. So,
Do they overlap with our questions?
No, it's what we have here.
So what you have already asked overlaps some of them? Already you have?
I'm assuming that because
You can ask
You
the
put the
questions and then we'll see if we already spoke about
Okay.
it, then
we have a recording
Okay.
of everything.
you
Yeah.
can have the recording.
Recently we had a meeting with His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami Maharaj, all the leaders who are working in the farm projects. So now it has been like 11-12 years since we started these communities. So Maharaj raised a question that Krishna Valley, they have been flourishing for, I think it's how many years?
31 now.
31 years. So one thing Maharaj wanted us to ask that these 30 years, what is your impression how the devotees who were there, who joined there 30 years before, the retention rate, the next generation, their willingness to stay here, what has been your experience in that, and challenges and the solutions to that? Because we also see that quite a few devotees, they joined with us, but then some of them left, and whether the next generation will be willing to stay with us. So these are all different things which we are also.
Yeah, well, the retention rate here in Krishna Valley has to be divided into two parts. Before the missionary system started and after the missionary system started.
I can explain to you what the missionary system is.
I remember from last time what you
Yeah.
explained to me, that for the first few years they stay near in some village,
Yeah, yeah.
and then they are trained in Bhagavad Gita and the basics, and then once they are convinced, they decide to follow the system completely here, and you also feel that they are to that level, then you allow them to join here as a missionary member. At that time they have to, like, they're full time here, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You also
Yes.
have newer devotees who live on the farm
Yes,
also, right?
exactly.
They also have
Exactly.
newer people who live on the farm.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the rest of the thing, yes, that is. So I believe it's a bit more than 70% who leave.
From the before missionary or after?
Well,
Before the
if
system
we
was
just
started,
if we
or-
just count the whole thing,
The whole thing, 70% leave.
yeah, yeah, and that's natural.
Expected.
Because it is such a lofty
It's
target
like
we
there
have.
are some devotees who join and they come only for a certain period of time, just like they go to university.
Mm.
So they are here. They dedicate 2, 3, 4, 5 years of their life, and then they just go and they become really good members of the congregation.
But when they joined, they had that idea that we are going there only for a few years to get
Some
trained.
of them, yes. Some
Mm.
of them did not.
Mm.
And well, once you live here, then you see whether you will be able to do this for life or not.
Mm.
And then, as we were speaking about the different stages of life and different life actualities, based on those, the mindset can change of the individual, so they can decide that they live.
Mm.
And yeah, we are not happy about it, but we support the individual as much as we can. And in the beginning, it was like, oh, you're leaving because you do not believe in Srila Prabhupada's mission and this and that, and so many operadas we did at that time. But it's not true. It's not true that they don't believe in Prabhupada's mission, or they don't trust Krishna, or it's just that they see that their life in Krishna consciousness at the present moment could be better lived in a different situation. And if we Hare Krishna, Atula Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
And we have to respect the other person and the other person's decision. And we have to help the other person to practice Krishna consciousness in whatever situation they are in. And if we look at these things from a Varnashram perspective, we cannot expect that everyone will be able to live in a completely similar way, because that's just not how we are designed as an individual or as a society. So but the core essence of it is that we need all the different varnas and all the different ashramas for the society to properly work. And they have to be able to work together, and they have to be able to respect each other. Because if that respect and working together is not there, then immediately envy will come. And as we just see from the Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, 8th to 12th verse, there is the Amanitvam Adambitvam Ahimsa Kshantir Arjavam Acharya Upasanam Shoj. There are 20 different qualities that we would need to acquire knowledge, and that starts with Amanitvam and Adambitvam. What's that? Being devoid of pride and not having envy. So these two things are the same thing. So devoid of pride and not being envious, it's the same thing. It's the pride can be observed from an external point of view, and envy is what the individual feels from inside. Without having these two right there in the first place, we will not be able to acquire transcendental knowledge. So that's why when we see varnashram, then there should be proper cooperation and proper respect towards the other person, and not be envious of the other person because they are doing something different than I do. Because if we become envious and we do not respect the other person and the way of living how the other person does that, then we will not be able to acquire transcendental knowledge. And if we do not acquire transcendental knowledge, how on earth we will be able to go back home, back to Godhead? So, as we were speaking about that, we even help the devotees when they decide to move out, so that they will be able to properly settle in the congregation and be a respected member of ISKCON Hungary. And we did a lot of things that were not right earlier in regards to in regards to just telling the devotees different things that they were not. You're not a good devotee because you moved out. You left Radhe Shyam. There were so many things that devotees were saying to each other. That should be avoided like a plague.
Like Varnashrama is to accommodate people of all varieties of Swabhava, except the Antyajas. So the devotees who are not able to live on the farm, the main reason is the cultural shift which is required from the present day demonic society towards a Varnashram society. That's such a big leap that many devotees are not able to cope up with that. Or our system here of implementing Varnashrama, here means in any farm community, because we are so much away from the whole system in place, and then because of that lacunas in the system itself, unless a person is very dedicated that he is ready to go along in spite of inebrities, other devotees will find it difficult unless the whole system is in place. Is that the real common scenario why so many devotees leave?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. Yeah, there's always influence from the external world, but there will be always influence from there. And I wouldn't say that if only those can stay who are extremely dedicated. I would say that there are different people with different swabhavas, as you said. So there are different natures, and the main thing is for us is to engage our nature in Krishna's service. And there will be a small portion of devotees who will be able to live on a farm. It won't be a big portion of devotees, but there will be. And maybe as the present age progresses, then the need will be more and more, and then more and more devotees will be able to move to farms. At the moment, I haven't seen any completely developed Varnashram community that would be able to accommodate the different devotees' nature, all the different devotees' natures. Right? So, like here in Hungary, it is extremely hard for Krishna Valley to accommodate Vaishyas.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy how hard that is. They would need much more freedom than what there is in Krishna Valley. You know, there are different varnas have different inspirations and can be inspired in different ways. So if we try to inspire someone in a Brahminical way, let's say a Vaishya in a Brahminical way, I mean, they were just, sorry, I'm just not interested. The same thing goes for the punishment. If you try to punish a Vaishya in a way you punish a Kshatriya, it's like, it would just not work. But at the moment, Krishna Valley is not a full-fledged Varnashram community because we cannot accommodate certain things, and we do not know how to accommodate those things. And because this is a very young community, I think that we need to get much more mature than we are at the moment, so that envy and pride would not prevail, and the devotees would respect each other for what they can do for Radhe Shyam, and not blaspheme each other for what they cannot do for Radhe Shyam. And maybe that's a heavy expression, but that's how it is. And how to avoid not losing 70% or 60% of the devotees. I really believe that a lot of training should happen. Training meaning self-awareness, understanding one's own nature, understanding one's own inclinations, understanding the interaction and the relationship in between the different devotees, and if we spend a lot of time on that, still it will not be 100% who will stay, but it might help in lessen the amount of devotees who are leaving with a bitter taste. Because that's also there. Yeah. Does that help?
You said that presently in Krishna Valley, for the Vaishyas it is difficult. If I remember correctly,